department, they have blankets. They wrap themselves up in blankets to do their work.
That's not fair. It's like being at home, dude. I thought to take a blanket to college so many times. Like,
Yeah, the other day I had to go with Mom to pick Corey up from school, and we get there, and the girl's walking out, and she's wrapped up in like 3 blankets. I'm like, oh, this girl gets me.
that's college.
That's me. That's gonna be me.
Oh,
Like, I love PJ Granson. Last night, and I took
I think
slippers.
I'm turning my homework on the end.
That's
And everyone was silently judging me. And I walked in.
So I got
was
your
like, "Are you
government
kidding
test
me?"
graded.
You did?
Yeah.
And then someone else showed up with a blanket, and I'm like,
Actually, yeah, you guys didn't score as well as you probably would have liked, but everybody got above 80%. So
I just got
it was actually not too bad. But I did get you with a couple of trick questions.
yeah, I didn't like those.
Oh, that was,
I kind of like.
that one was tricky.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah,
Number 16, I did not like the question.
yeah, some of you missed a few of you missed number 8, which was which of the following is not true about the House and
I don't
Senate?
like the House.
So the House does not approve treaties.
Oh, can you just say
The
which
Senate.
one is true, because I want the other one.
What was the other one that everybody missed?
There was 8.
Oh, 14?
Yeah, 14 and 16.
14, which of the following is not a check the president has on Congress?
Notice how these are all not one.
Judicial review. He does not do judicial reviews. That can only be done by Congress.
Can I not answer that?
Yeah, it was kind of funny. You erased it. It looks like you had this
No, I
C.
didn't.
Oh, you skipped it then.
I skipped it.
Somebody erased one of the answers and you then marked it wrong. 15 is dividing power between states and national government is federalism.
Yep.
Giving each branch some degree of oversight. This was the trick one because I threw in there separation of powers because they're so close.
I literally went back and forth when I was like, I'm just gonna pick one.
Separation of powers is the power to tax is here, the power of this is here, and the power of this is here. Checks and balances, the Congress can impeach the president. That's a checks and balance. So giving the branch some degree of oversight of the other branch is called checks and balances. Well, you guessed right then. Number 18 was one that was also kind of missed, which is which of the following is not a power of the president? Declare war. President cannot declare war.
That was tricky.
Congress is the only one who can declare war. That's why I put that one in there, because that's an important one to know. A lot of people think that the president can declare war. No, he cannot. He cannot. He can go in, he can send troops anywhere in the world to do something, but he cannot engage in a long proactive event, which what we would call a war, without Congress's approval. And if he sends troops over, the Congress can actually sue him through and even impeach him for sending troops and if he happens to send them over without their approval. So which of the following is not a power of Congress? Congress does not grant patents and copyrights.
Oh
The president does. That was another one of those ones where I tricked you guys up. Well, like I said, it was actually fairly easy. And again, this does not cover that much of your grade anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. So anybody, let's see this. Your homework for today,
I'll give you mine.
and you guys are giving me yours later. And I already got 2 of yours. Oh, speaking of which, here's Mom to the rescue.
Yes. Thank you, Mom, to the rescue.
Okay. So, you had the news of the one China policy. I was thinking, for some reason, the one child policy. So you mentioned that Trump is against the one China policy earlier today. the one China policy has to do with China and Taiwan. So China is called the People's, I think, let's see. China is actually, I always like this. I always like how I always love how communist countries come up with great names because they're great marketers. So China is the People's Republic of China. Okay, they're run by a bunch of communist oligarchy dictators who really aren't elected. So how could they be a republic? I guess in the sense that they say, well, we represent the people. No, they don't. You're a communist dictatorship. You tell everybody what they can do, can't do. If it was a republic, then I would say I'd be able to elect my free leaders. Then, of course, the real Republic of China is really Taiwan. But the Chinese do not recognize, or the Chinese do not recognize Taiwan as actually being independent. So that runs into the problem. So one China policy is this idea of looking at them as the same. It's kind of confusing, as the same, or the one group. The thing that you have with Taiwan is they want to be declared an independent state. They want to be known as a free country. If you know a little bit about the history of China, when I was growing up, everything we bought was made in Hong Kong. It was made in Hong Kong. Because Hong Kong is actually the most capitalistic city in the world. It still is today. Because Hong Kong happened to be under the British Empire. And let's see, I'm trying to remember the exact date. Like I said, I don't ever require you guys to remember dates. So,
Nice. Ah.
Hong Kong. Oh no, that's not what I want. I wanted to. It's not it either. Sometimes I don't like the help.
Hong Kong,
Okay, part of China. So, let's see. Hong Kong became a colony of the British in the mid-1800s and remained a colony until 1997. So, in 1997, Hong Kong becomes part of China. It reverts from China, from being a British colony to being part of China. This is why we have to actually worry about China today. It's because of the fact that it used to be Hong Kong being well, it still is, being the biggest capitalist city in the world. In Hong Kong, you can go to the government, file paperwork, and become a business all in one day. Here in the United States, you can't do that in one day. That's how free we are here in the United States. It takes like days. You have to file this petition and this and do that and get legal documents, and it takes some time. In Hong Kong, you can do it in a day. Well, when Hong Kong, which is one of the richest cities in the world, becomes part of China, guess who gets all the tax money now? The communistic government of China. And so this is why they were able to rebuild their military, rebuild all their things during the early 2000s. And this is why they went from a country who couldn't launch a rocket to being able to launch nuclear missiles on rockets, thanks to the British giving up Hong Kong to the Chinese, which was basically under an agreement anyway to do that. Which is also why now everything that you see is made in China and not made in Hong Kong. But I will say this: everybody thought when Hong Kong would revert to the Chinese, the communist Chinese, that the communist Chinese would go, oh, well, we can't allow this, we can't allow capitalism, we gotta nix this idea. No, they were actually smart. They said, wow, we can make lots of money off of this. And so they allowed Hong Kong to continue to work exactly the way they had worked. So now they've got all this income coming in from taxes that they collect from Hong Kong, but Hong Kong is still considered one of the freest when it comes to business, of course, in the world. They still fall under some of the requirements of the Hong Kong, which was the one-child policy and stuff like that. So the Chinese weren't stupid. The communist Chinese were not stupid when they got Hong Kong back. Of course, that's why you see everything made today is made in China, because they took that and moved it to other cities and took the same principles that were in Hong Kong and moved it to other places. So probably 20 years ago, I interviewed with a company that the owner was actually from Hong Kong, came over here to the United States, started a business selling phones, and he was looking for some people to work in their IT office and stuff like that, so here in the United States. But he would get all his phones from Hong Kong and basically China today. So that's kind of what's going on. Well, Trump has said that he's come out recently and basically has kind of opened the door. Again, I think this is more of a negotiation with China, that the island of Taiwan should be free. Basically, he doesn't believe in the one China policy because he wants to look at an independent Taiwan. And I think the reason why he's doing that is, again, the Trump way of doing business. Come at things from a position of strength, and so that when you come in, you can compromise. You go in a position of weakness saying, oh, I want, you know, we'll give you this, just help. Then you already lost. You've already lost. When you go in and say, listen, you know, hey, we can get all this if we recognize Taiwan as an independent state. Gee, what are you going to do for us? You want to keep Taiwan? Okay. You know, that kind of thing is, again, a great negotiating skill, and that's what Trump does. He negotiates. So we'll see what happens out of this. The Chinese, of course, they're not happy about it. Okay, so anything else in the news? Of course, I showed this one earlier. Trump's win is a national emergency. So the Democrats continue to whine and complain. You guys heard about, of course, the CIA has come out and said that the Russians hacked our elections. And that's, of course, Trump's going, they did not. This is baseless allegation. This is fake news, just like what Hillary was lambasting against last week, the fake news. Which, of course, you know, she's the one who benefited from a lot of fake news. Congressman begs Electoral College voters to block Trump. CIA pushes conspiracy theories. Electors want briefing before vote. Trump win, no, of course we just saw that one. Trump wins a national emergency. It looks like the judge in Pennsylvania has rejected the recount in Pennsylvania, so she won't get her recount in Pennsylvania. Oh, wow. Here's an interesting one. Oil surges to 1.5-year high. Fed rate increases. It says that they're going to increase. What's the ramifications of oil prices going up? You become poor. Why?
Spend all of our money on gas.
Exactly. See, there's a lot of economists out there that say, well, oil prices do not affect the economy. They're like one of the factors in an economy. If you can't have cheap gas, cheap fuel, then your people don't have money to spend. One of the big things why I think our economy has been moving ahead here slightly the last several years is because gas prices went from almost $4 a gallon over,
Like 5 years ago, say.
well, it just like 3 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, I like the fact, because I own a truck now and it's not costing me $50 to fill up my truck. It's only like about 30. So that's $20 extra a week. Multiply that by 4, that's $80 I have to spend on things that I couldn't spend on earlier. Gas prices have a huge impact on the economy. But you will find that actually most economists remove fuel prices out. Food and fuel prices are not part of inflation. When you calculate inflation, and in fact, actually, when you should calculate inflation, food and fuel should be the 2 primary ones in inflation. Because if you don't have fuel, you can't do anything. And if you don't have food, you what? You die. That's right. So I think we need to look at those a little bit differently. And going forward, this is one of those things that I believe that governments should consider important. Fuel, food are pretty much the 2 biggest things. And of course, keeping your people employed, because if they're employed, they're happy. Anybody here play the game Civilization? That was always, when it first came out, I was playing it for a little bit. And it was always funny because you'd have rebellions and riots in your cities if you didn't keep the people happy. So you had to come up with ways of keeping the people happy. So you had to keep employment up and the ability to buy things and stuff like that. If that started to go down, you were in trouble and your city would stop producing stuff and then you would be in trouble. Well, that's kind of what happens when you look at the real place. If the government is not helping to keep fuel prices low, then it stifles the economy. And that's one of the big things that hurt George W. Bush, was the fact that he allowed fuel prices to go up. But the benefit from it was we started fracking. And out of the fracking, we got more natural gas, more fuel. So if government stays out of the cycle, gas prices and oil prices will go up. The problem that you have is countries like Saudi Arabia will kind of cut their supply, increase their supply to handle things in the fuel prices. One of the reasons why we're benefiting from low fuel prices, anybody know? Anybody have any ideas why we have lower fuel prices right now? Of course, they're going up a little bit.
Because there's more.
There's more of it, yes.
There's more.
Well, one of the things that, our fracking helped drive the prices down because we started producing more oil, and we're moving up to being one of the top producers of oil in the world again. Even though Obama kind of put anything in his way that he could, it still ended up moving forward. But also, Saudi Arabia does not like Russia. Russia, in order to produce their oil, needs it at about above $50 a barrel. If oil prices fall below $50 a barrel, then Russia no longer makes money off of their oil, and they can then become bankrupt. And of course, a bankrupt Russia with a military can go in and do things that actually you don't want them to do, but that's one of the reasons why we went to war with Japan, is Japan was complaining that we were stifling their ability to do stuff. So then what we needed to do is, or what they did is